I think we're. Oh, frack. Sorry, man. It's been a very very long week. Well, you're aware. It's
Yeah, it has been
partly
a
why
long
there
week.
hasn't been so many daily cogs.
hmm
But that's all right. My mind is a little uh everywhere. So we see. I don't even have the proper screen up. We'll see how it goes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Daily Cup of Genre here on the Genreverse YouTube channel and podcast network, available on all your favorite podcast apps like Spotify, Google, Apple, Amazon, and more. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done that already. If you have, thank you very much. Follow us on your favorite app, and then I'm Kyle. That's Manny LRM. LRMonline.com is the website for all your written news needs and opinions. Yeah, it's Friday. It's been a long week, man.
Yeah, it
We
has
spent
been.
we spent 3 hours, almost 3 hours yesterday, shopping for new phones and getting new phones, new service, and all of that. And part of what took so long is we changed uh, carriers. I actually
Oh,
just left the longest non-familial relationship in my life. I had been, dude, no joke. I had been with Sprint all the way through the merger. Yeah, they became T-Mobile over the last year or two or whatever it was, but same serve. I never left my carrier from September of 2003 until yesterday.
wow.
Well, technically today. And I've had the same phone number for that long.
Amazing.
However, I do now have a business number. So that'll be on my card, which is kind of cool. But yeah, and so this morning, our phones are in limbo because we're porting over our numbers and changing carriers. So like both phones half work.
Oh,
As far as like if I send a text on one, I'll receive answers on the other.
I've had that before.
So we got to go back over today. We forgot to get an account number that we have to have uh, when this automated thing calls to complete the port. So we're gonna go do that. Um, yeah, man. What's your weekend look like? My son's gonna have his first sleepover, so that's pretty cool. That's not like a family or family friend, so that's cool. But what you got going on this weekend, man?
Well, I mean, it's gonna start off pretty well. We're gonna watch Evil Dead tonight.
Mm,
Um, so that's gonna be fun.
the
And
daughter
then
going with?
no, she's not.
Okay.
No, not tonight. And then we have a 90s rock festival tomorrow that we're gonna go to. So it's gonna be nice. And then on Sunday, Emma and I are going to watch Spirit, the Studio Ghibli film. But
Spirited Away.
Spirited Away, sorry. But it's live. It's a show. It's a live
Ah,
version that they did in Japan.
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you had mentioned that at some point. I keep wanting to do the Ghibli fests and at the studios, um, and we've Christine's taken Lucas to like a couple of them,
hmm
but the one that we always wanted to do, of course, is Spirited Away for Christine and I, and that's always in the fall, and it always becomes like the most difficult one, uh, difficult one to do. I know. Give me a second. Let me bring the Chrome window over. Um, they've announced you're going to the live on stage April 23rd,
hmm
25th, 27th, and May 2nd.
hmm
In May, we've got Ponyo. In June, Kiki's Delivery Service. July, Nausicaa. Castle in the Sky also in July. Princess Mononoke in August. Also with Porco Rosso. The Wind Rises as well. So those three, Mononoke, Porco, and Wind Rises, are all August. And then September, Howl's Moving Castle and October 28th through November 1st, Spirited Away. Totoro not getting a, or at least no date for it yet. Might not get one. I'm not sure. But
That one just happened.
Yeah. What, Totoro?
Yeah.
Did it go by already?
I think so.
Maybe that's why it's down at the end of the list. It's always a cool thing, man. I mean, how did Suzume? Let me break this down.
It didn't do too bad. It's just it's interesting because you could just kind of like play all of the Ghibli movies and then start them over, and then you have the same people go and watch them, and everyone's okay with it because they're just really good, and they were different. But
many of them are. Some of them are nah. I'm not. You should have seen our tier list live stream for anime.
I did. I saw some of the things he had put, and I was like, yeah, I'm never trusting these guys with
what?
With it, yeah.
Why? Like what?
There was a few things. You didn't have Spirited Away all the way at the top.
We couldn't.
Yeah,
that's the thing. We couldn't. And Spirited Away isn't the best of the best. We had our tier list, and let me.
But I didn't say anything because I don't watch enough to really. Feel like I had a valid opinion.
I mean that's fine, but for those that don't know, and I'm trying to find the image. For those that don't know, we did a tier list, but to make it interesting, to not just have willy-nilly everything that we wanted exactly where we wanted, and especially since there was 3 of us trying to do this tier list, we made it to where the 3 of us could agree on basically the top 2 movies, or at least 2 movies we were willing to give the S plus tier. And then we each had one S tier that we could give. And that made it, kind of like what's going to come up, because we also randomized the order that we placed these. And so on the screen for those watching on YouTube, the 2 movies that came up really, really early were Weathering with You and Your Name. Those are, for all intents and purposes, along with the several others, S plus tier movies. Christine picked Spirited Away for her S tier. I ended up going with Words Bubble Up Like Soda Pop, because Your Name, Weathering, Spirited Away already taken. I'm happy with that. And Brian took Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh, that's so good. Emma loves that. Yeah.
So all 5 of those to us are all, of course, S plus tier. But for this like one thing, well, I don't care for Howl's so much. So 4 out of those 5 are S plus for me. Howl's is good. It's just not S plus for me. But relatively, yeah, you would have like 5 or 6 movies up at the tippy top.
There's nothing wrong with that.
If we didn't put the limitations on to make it interesting.
No, it's not. It doesn't make it interesting. It makes it annoying.
It does. Because
not at all.
Well, here's what made it interesting. See, I don't like Kiki's the delivery service. Christine
That's a great movie.
Christine really likes it, and she wanted to give it an A.
Christine sounds like she has a way better taste in anime than you do.
I think she wanted to give it a B or something like that, and Brian was like, "There's no way, this is a C," and I was like, I'm sorry, it's a C." And we gave chat a chance to save it for her, and not even chat saved it for her, so Kiki got stuck in C. But yeah, that's what made it fun, was things like that, and that's why we kind of put the limitations on, and it was fun.
Whatever.
Man, you sound like a freaking a Gen Zer, where you just want everything to be good and everything to be great, and you don't want any type of limitations. You want no moderation. Man.
I'm sorry, I'm not a Star Wars. I'm not that kind of Star Wars fan. Okay. Who just comes out after every episode and says it's the best thing ever.
And if it's not the best thing ever, it was still good. Like, that's the other thing is like people convincing themselves, and look, I did it too.
No, honestly, like,
I did it too with the prequels. I convinced myself.
I do feel that I love some of those movies, and some of the ones you mentioned are actually some of our top favorites that we've gone through. Spirited Away obviously is right at the top. Howling Moving Castle is very close now. to a second for my daughter and I. This is what I'm speaking. Then at a third is Kiki's Delivery Service, followed by Porco Rosso. Those are just our favorites. We just enjoy them. But I think
Have you
Porco
seen-
Rosso.
Go ahead.
I think the thing about that one is that it surprised us. We didn't expect it to be good, and then it turned out to be very good. So I think that's why that's up there. So,
Have you seen Your Name and Weathering with You?
no, I haven't.
You guys need to watch those. Weathering with You's on HBO Max, or at least it was fairly recently. You need to watch those.
I'll have to check
Like
them out.
absolutely. Also, A Silent Voice. That one's on Netflix. It came out years ago. Christina watched it before me. Her and I watched it day before yesterday. Great movie. Seriously, that would be an S tier movie. I mean, it is good. It does deal with I don't want to ruin anything. Be aware of behavioral health issues in this movie. But it's good. It's not a glorifying. It is slice of life. It is taking. I'll give you the what is it? The premise, the synopsis. A dude bullied a girl back in elementary school. He finds her later on in high school and wants to make up for it.
Okay.
She's hard of hearing, deaf. So there you go. There's a synopsis. A Silent Voice, great. But definitely Weathering with You, Your Name, Makoto Shinkai, his freaking two masterpieces. At any given moment, you could ask me which of those two are my favorite, and usually it's going to be Weathering with You, but if it can be Your Name every now and then. They are that good. The deciding factor between those two movies is what hurt Suzume, and that's music. The music for Weathering with You is some of the best in an anime film. Radwimps did an amazing job with the soundtrack, and Yojiro Noda, I think, is the lead dudes. He also composed like the orchestral stuff. It was written for that movie, which was great. Your Name borrowed a lot of stuff Radwimps had already done, and they brought in a few new things, I think. But Weathering with You was written musically from scratch. That's what hurt Suzume, was that there was. Don't get me wrong. There's the music wasn't bad, but there's nothing that stands out like what came before. So you have like this, and then Your Name is just brilliant as well. And a lot of people, Your Name is a lot of people in this generation of animes Spirited Away. So like you and I, millennials and stuff, Spirited Away is a really big deal. Some of us, Akira is a really big deal. Those first anime movies that people find. I was lucky or unlucky enough to find shit way earlier. Lucky enough. Your Name is brilliant, but man, Suzume just it missed the mark on that, and it's still a great movie. Suzume's a hell of a lot of fun. It just, yeah, man, it's crazy how one little thing like music, like the soundtrack and the music can set something apart. But Weathering with You, man, it's on HBO Max. Make that a thing. Or Silent Voice, it's on Netflix. Make it a thing.
I hate music in anime, so.
No, it's not a musical. It's not a musical. I'm talking the background music and the soundtrack with it.
Oh wow, that's really picky.
No, it's something it's not something it's something that sets each one of those apart. That's what I'm saying, is like they're all good. They're all solid. It's just that one had better, and that's what makes it above the others. Like the art is all great amongst all three. The story is great amongst all three. The editing, the color, everything is great. But then it's like what is it that sets one apart? Well, which soundtrack do I listen to the most?
I'm messing with you, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck you. There's my F-bomb. Every now and then I drop one. I may or may not bleep it. Fuck you.
You got really into it, and I said, "Oh, okay, green light."
Anyways, do you have
Oh.
anything worth talking about today? Now that we've spent 15 minutes talking about anime movies.
So what was it? We were having this big conversation yesterday in our group chat about the
Discord
the
link
future.
in the description box.
No, actually, this is a
Slack.
like a friends one.
You guys, not
yeah,
us.
yeah,
Okay,
like
go
my
ahead.
friends, not your friends.
I have no friends.
You have cats. You have friends.
My cats are dicks, man.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Yeah, so we're basically what we're talking about is, so everyone in our friends group was in agreement that about the things that that season 3 of Mando lacked, and how basically we need to, if you didn't like Rebels and Clone Wars, you're not gonna like Star Wars going forward.
Pretty much.
That's the consensus we came to, because that's what they're gonna stick to, and that your live action will be as bland as a cartoon, as far as what it is. Like, don't expect, like, everyone, including us, everyone gave the finale, gave the preview, not like afterwards, but going towards the finale of Mandalorian 3, gave it way too much credit. because of the potential of the finale, due to the episode before, of these things that happened to really make it interesting and really make it thrilling and epic, and instead, it was as vanilla as it gets. And the thing is that people are like smart enough, for whatever reason, now to kind of see that a little bit better. I see that more now. Not like before, where Kyle was going to see the prequels and he convinced himself that it was great. It's happening where people.
I didn't get to convince myself that for very long. It was very, very quickly that I was like, "Oh my god, what have we done?"
But it's so so I think so. Would you say it's fair? Star Wars fans in general all should just lower their expectations to enjoy Star Wars, or should we demand something better?
You never settle. But that's the thing. That's the thing, man. Is people are willing to settle. You constantly, and I mean, you've said it. Jammer always freaking says it. A lot of people say it, and in small doses, you are right. If you can shift your expectations, you are correct. You can enjoy things more. But here's the thing: there's a difference between. And Mando season 3 is a great example for this. There's a difference between something that starts immature, we'll say. I don't mean like dookie joke. I mean, it's not. There's things that start skewed towards youth, and they continue on, and they're good. I have no issues with that. Yeah. There's things that are skewed towards general audiences, which means anyone from like 8 to like 80 can enjoy this thing. And I have no issues with that. And there's things that skew to older, mature audiences. And that might not necessarily mean blood, violence, and sex. It might just mean serious dramas and topics that are boring to children, right? My issue with Mando, and especially Mando Season 3, is how it went from general audiences in 1 and 2 to skewed towards youth for Season 3. And that is where I shouldn't frickin' settle, because you started something already. And whether or not people like the prequels or not, what we have to look at is what the OT was, what started it all. And there are general audience moments throughout until you get to the Ewoks. At the very, very end, Lucas, for whatever reason, went off the deep end and decided to use Ewoks and kind of kidify things. And you saw the Ewok Adventures, and then you look at the prequels, and you realize that he did want to take things off to the side. But then you look at what's been most successful You look at the more OT like sequel trilogy, except for the last movie. 'Cause the second one, even though divisive, even though it's divisive, people will say, hey, it was well shot, it looks great, it's one of the best looking Star Wars films there are. Soundtrack's solid, it feels, it looks, it plays like Star Wars. It just had a really shitty storyline. But the cartoons, man, the cartoon stuff that people came up with, that they were brought up with, they enjoyed regular Star Wars. They like OT. They liked Mando. Everyone really liked Mando season 1 and 2 overall. But all of a sudden, you start dangling this cartoony shit, and they're eating it up.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to settle for that. And Star Wars doesn't need to be that. It's already proven. Rogue One, even, you know, it's already proven that aiming for that general audience, sci-fi fun. Little jokes here, a little silly there, but overall you keep it you keep it in that OT vibe, man, and you're gonna make good money because that's what Star Wars is.
Yeah.
No, we shouldn't settle. I hate that. I hate that idea. I shouldn't have to. Marvel, you've said this one, Manny. Marvel set themselves up for failure with Phase 4 because of how damn good Phases 1 through 3 were. They set the expectations. I shouldn't have to lower my expectations of a Marvel product simply because, well, we're in a new phase and we're just going to aim for the lowest common denominator to put out as much content as possible. No, don't settle.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying to settle. I don't. I said I.
Yeah. No, I meant don't to the people.
Yeah. It's just it seems like yeah. What the other conversation we had was about just Disney in general, and how I don't know. It feels like their team cares way too much about the small social media bubble, and oftentimes make decisions based off of that. And what I mean by saying that is that, and I say this, and I go all the way back to season 1 of Mando, when what's her face got fired.
Gina Carano. Yeah.
And I think that's where you started to split people up.
That's after season 2.
Season 2? Okay, yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, you're right. Season 2. I think that's where you started to split people up and kind of put a wedge, and then that grew, and then you started doing it with Marvel, She-Hulk specifically, where, like you said, you're doing the counter thing that we weren't supposed to do. Started adding more. You started creating more division. Then you start making movies that have a little bit more of a bigger message as far as like certain topics that are sometimes not well received by certain groups, creating a bigger wedge. And then you start. I mean, it's not all bad as far as changing the ethnicity of some of the characters, but there's a few that it's like, why? And you didn't need to, like, you could have done something a little bit more. You could have been a little bit smarter about it. Tinkerbell, for example, was a horrible idea.
Yeah.
Little Mermaid, fine, that's a great idea. That one works for me. Like if you're gonna pick one of the two, I'm gonna pick the Little Mermaid.
I don't care for those at all.
I know, but what I'm saying now is, with every decision they seem to have made the last couple of years, it's divisive, and it's causing them to lose money. The last few animated films have actually combined lost them over 300 million. They've had to backtrack on Marvel shows because they're just not good, and they're not bringing them anything extra on Disney Plus either. Disney Plus is not profitable right now.
Nope, and it will not be profitable by next year. Like what's his name had said it would be.
And so
I could have told you guys that,
and we've been telling everybody that. And then it's interesting because other studios, and that I think this is where the conversation came from, is because it's like, wow, everything kind of really sucks right now on Disney Plus, and they're not really putting anything that's
Nothing really
great.
that hot.
Meanwhile, on the other side, in Hollywood, you have Illumination that's just making Minion, Sing, and now Mario movies that are very generic and are making millions and millions of dollars and winning you the box office every year.
Yeah.
What does that? I mean, what does that tell you? It's people. A lot is that attraction sometimes to the theater. People don't want to be told a lesson. People are just gonna want to go watch.
I mean, there's a time and place for everything.
There is.
That's one of the hardest things I think people have to realize and understand. There's a time and place for everything. I've had this argument plenty of times. There's a lot of great room for contemporary political commentary in things like X-Men
And even Star Wars, yeah.
See, Star Wars not so much. Star Wars was never as contemporary as people thought. While it did relate some to both World War II and Vietnam, it borrows from a lot of just traditional hero tale type stuff. Star Wars is meant to be pure escapism, and that's why I freaking despise any earthly things within Star Wars.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Because it is meant to be ultimate escapism. It is meant to be relatively, good versus evil. Some clear lines. Sure, there may be a betrayer, a backstabber, or something, but relatively who the possible betrayers are. You know who the good guys are. You know who the bad guys are. That's Star Wars. X-Men wasn't. X-Men's meant to be used as a mirror to society. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have a diverse cast in Star Wars, but it does mean that it's one of those things where you don't bring. If the issue didn't exist in the galaxy far, far away before now, then it probably shouldn't exist now. If that makes sense. But that's not how they always play it, and it sucks. Like I've said, there's this thing about normalizing things, whether we like it or not. We've and I like it. I do. We've made a lot of great progress in representation, especially for people of color and women across, especially sci-fi. Dude, sci-fi. Oh my God. And especially for women in sci-fi. The idea of strong female heroes in science fiction is decades old. So going back into the 70s with a character like Leia in the first couple of Star Wars movies, but definitely your Sigourney Weavers and I forgot her name that played Sarah Connor, but you've got your strong female leads there for a while, but that doesn't mean that there's not other groups that need their fair shot, and it doesn't mean that there's not things that can still be better, especially within the industry, because we still to this day have people getting cast to either provide armor or buzz. And that's gross that you use people. We still have check boxes, and that's gross. That's not the way to do things. But if it's normalized, the groups that have made a career, that have made their money, made their living, their whole existence over the fight, if it's too normalized, if it becomes just another thing, then they are no longer needed and their income is gone. So think about that. That's always something to be aware with activism in any format, political, entertainment, whatever. Like, be aware. Victory comes with a cost, which to them will be there's no more fight, or relatively no more fight, which means that they no longer have a job. So they have a huge incentive to find something to keep themselves relevant.
It's just rough because it also feels like in a lot of their shows now, they make it to where they have a divisive character where if you don't like the series,
they blame it on
they
that.
blame it on that specifically.
That's using a character as armor, casting and someone as armor.
It's happening more and more often. It's very concerning. And I think people get tired of it in general. And
yeah, because most people just want to watch a fucking movie.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. When you want to go watch a Disney movie, an animated feature, a family feature where everybody can go, it's kind of really to just let your mind kind of melt, for a bit, just kind of relax. And I think when you start doing that, you're making it difficult to just kind of to enjoy yourself. And then also, look, everyone has different values, and while in my house there's a lot of things that are accepted and we're fine with it and we move on because we respect everyone's decision, it's not the same at somebody else's house. And you know what, unfortunately for you, and I mean you as the people who can't take it, that's actually okay. Like we all have differences of opinions, and if that's not okay in their house, it's just what it is. And so
like there's no Apple products in my house. It's not allowed.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, for you that's whatever. But yeah, like
fruit cyst, tech
I don't know,
whatever.
What I'm saying is that when all your projects are like, they start turning people off, and then it's not even that good. And then so it's just interesting to watch and to see how, and it all seems to stem from paying way too much attention to this core bubble that doesn't represent the majority of an audience.
Whichever core that might be for a particular project. Look, the CW has, and I'm a fan of several old WB/CW shows. I'm constantly talking about the trailblazing Buffy did, but it made it for a relatively decent amount of time. It showed that you could have an entire network used to cast people in very diverse settings with very diverse casts, and made it relatively successful. Mismanagement in other areas, money needing to be shifted around, maybe even some improper usage of streaming services meant that it wasn't necessarily a home run network, but it proved that there were audiences that wanted to watch all sorts of groups that haven't gotten a fair shot. Or if they've gotten a fair shot, they haven't gotten a big enough shot, however you want to qualify it. But it's not everything. We start hearing things about, disability representation. Why did Brendan Fraser, why do people put on a fat suit to act? Well, he's an actor. He's supposed to play other things.
And
he's also playing a role that was very, very, very large. You have insurance situations, health situations, shooting time situations. Could a person the size of Brendan Fraser's character, could they do the filming schedule the way that it needs to be done? Like, it was really one of the weirdest things where you're like, we needed, X amount of do you want to put an overweight person in an additional fat suit to bulk up to the size you needed for the whale? Like, people complaining about not having a blind actor play a blind character, and I'm talking about some superheroing stuff, specifically Madam Web and Daredevil, of course. And it's like, well, there's an insurance risk. If you want this character doing superhero stuff, and you want close-ups on face and all of that, there's serious risks about having someone that's visually impaired or blind doing that. They're not going to let them. So it would always have to be mask on. It would always have to be far away shots or some really weird deep fake CGI stuff like they started doing. And that's not good. So what do? You hire an actor that can see to do that. Blindness is completely different than deaf. The deaf can actually see. There's less of a safety situation and an easier safety net to have them do stunts while someone around them with a mirror or a light or some sort of visual signal to let them know if they're reaching out of bounds. Someone that's blind, not quite as easy when you're jumping around. And that's not to say that they can't do it. I'm talking, again, insurance policies and things that are part of the filming like business. Like, man, actors that can do all sorts of stuff are told you can't do this stunt, you cost too much money. So that's the probably the last thing on this subject I'll say on that is at the end of the day, guys, it's a business. And if your niche, whatever it may be, whether it's a niche of genre or a niche of, and I don't want to undermine things, but I can't think of a better word right now, but your niche of character or content representation, if it is not profitable, sorry. I mean, honestly, it's some groups are super small, and it would be almost impossible for them to be super profitable, even if everyone in their group were supportive. But let's look at female-led projects and movies made for females that weren't seen by females, like Charlie's Angels, the one Elizabeth Banks did, or Ghostbusters Answer the Call. I don't know a single man that kept their wife, daughter, sister, auntie, the girl next door from going and seeing any of those movies. They didn't go support their projects. Bros seems to have also been one where it wasn't just some white dude or some Hispanic straight dude not seeing that movie. A lot of people didn't see that movie. A lot. And it's one of those things, guys. Man, business is tough.
Yeah. No, it is tough.
So I guess that'll be good for hot takes.
No, it'd be nice to have representation for everything in film, but unfortunately that's not how it works. And we don't have we don't necessarily have the power to change that as far as decisions, because like you and I say all the time, the decisions are made by the almighty dollar, and yelling and screaming at each other was not going to fix that.
Yeah, no. I mean, the best thing to do is to write good stories so that no matter who you cast in those stories, that it's still going to be good. And unfortunately, we have to put a pin in it there because I got to get ready for Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast. If you guys hated us in our conversation, which I'm sure you did, for those that listened all the way through, bravo. Leave some comments down below. Tell us what you think about this episode and the topics. And I'm like looking at my timestamps, and I'm just like, oh my god, how did we get from where we were to where we are? And I got cat hair. Damn it.
Stop licking your cat.
See, told you, cats are dicks, man. Shedding everywhere. If you dig the show, cool. Check out more Genreverse here on YouTube. Anime reactions, trailer reactions, Breaking Geek, Daily Cog, the Cantina, Marvel Multiverse Mayhem when there's Marvel stuff to review. All the non-reaction stuff gets audio format wherever you get your podcasts from. And of course, LRMonline.com for written news and reviews. celebrity interviews from the LRM online YouTube channel, and a whole lot more. Man, anything else for the people this Friday?
Yeah, have a great weekend. And just a fun announcement is that it's kind of official at this point. The LRM team will be at Comic-Con this year. Our passes have been approved and our room has been booked. So yeah, we'll once again bring you the greatest and latest. And also yeah, just stop being dicks to each other.
All right, guys. Bye.